world of childhood. Remembering their own, adults look back upon it nostalgically. Children often leave it with reluctance and sometimes misgivings. For outwardly, there is a freedom not often recaptured in later life, and inwardly a spontaneity and curiosity not often found in the grown-up world. Yet it is only one small world in the long process of growth, and in time, the child learns to look forward eagerly to that gradual growth, to the new worlds that lie ahead. Perhaps childhood becomes meaningful only because we do grow out of it into maturity. For no matter how wonderful it seems, few of us would willingly want to remain in it forever. But what of those that do? Some children can't leave it. These children are just a few of the thousands that will never leave their world of childhood. They are children limited, not of their own volition, not by any fault of their own or of their parents. These children are mentally deficient. Their normal growth has been arrested, sometimes stopped completely, sealed from time. Innocent victims of a condition that has affected their central nervous system. And the curious thing about it all is that what has happened to these children can happen to any child. It does happen in some degree to every 1 in 50 born. But for the most part, it hasn't mattered much, unless, of course, it happens in your own family. And then perhaps like this mother, you visit a children's clinic, hoping that your suspicions are groundless. The inevitable question, what is wrong with my child? And the only sensible answer, let's examine her. In this instance, from simple tests given, the child suggests mental deficiency. Although capable of playing with other children, the child illustrates a behavior that deviates enough from normal response and behavior to suggest an arrested mental growth. The simple mechanical test of opening a lollipop, although accomplished, requires an unusual amount of time and study. More detailed examinations prove the mother's first suspicions. The child is mentally deficient. And perhaps for the first time, the mother learns that what has happened only to the child. Neither she nor her husband had anything to do with it. And for that matter, neither did the child herself. What has happened to this child can and does happen to thousands of other children. And the problem confronting this mother now is one that thousands of other mothers are confronted with. In a sense, their problems now become hers. And now quickly she must learn something of the strangeness of mental deficiency. And she will learn also of the even stranger taboos and stigmas attached to this condition. This little girl, for instance, has never been out of bed for the 6 years of her life, completely without response. Although committed to a school, she has not been accepted. There simply isn't room. So the problem for the time being is one for the parents to solve. And the problem is not just this little girl. In many cases, the neighbors refuse to let their children play with the brothers and sisters of mentally deficient children. Because of the ignorance of otherwise well-meaning people, a normal growing boy may be subjected to what amounts to medieval superstition and primitive taboos in a 20th century community, as if he were the carrier of a dread communicable disease. Here is another illustration of family care of a different type of a mentally deficient child. The family has adjusted itself well, but more important, the boy feels the sense of belonging, the feeling of being wanted, an integral part of the family group. With special training at a private school and the care of his family, he is being brought to the highest level of his limited ability. To provide for him in later years, a trust fund has been established, for the home is a solution only as long as the family remains able to care for him. This is a still different type. This child is spastic as well as mentally retarded. Of course, she can never be left alone, but with her mother's training, the spastic condition may well improve. As long as she lives, though, she will remain a growing and more complex problem. In this household, the mother has provided a pleasant home for her mentally deficient child. She has, in addition, taken in another child of the same type to care for, giving to both of the girls a sense of security and belonging that separately they might never have known. These children are short-lived, and their mental age seldom, if ever, rises above that of the 11-year-old. In most instances, it is closer to the 3- or 5-year level. Often the farm provides the best opportunity for the mentally deficient. In this family, the boy has adjusted himself well to the slower rhythm of farm living and attains a high degree of satisfaction from the work that he is able to do. In a city, without proper guidance, the boy could easily be exploited and led into delinquency. In this family, the mentally deficient child enjoys the companionship and understanding of his 2 normal brothers. It is an excellent example of the good effect that normal people can have upon the mentally deficient child when understanding and education replace the superstition that surrounds this condition. But adequate though the home may be for some children, the home as such cannot and should not assume the responsibility for the training of the thousands of children that each year enter into the strange and limited world of the mentally deficient. Schools designed especially for the guidance and training of the mentally deficient child is the most effective solution to this problem. For the problem basically is not a personal one. It belongs to the community, the state, indeed to the nation itself. The school pictured here is the Rainier State School at Buckley, Washington, and it serves as an excellent example of what can be accomplished on the state level when the citizens are intelligently informed and capable of constructive thinking and action. The boys and girls have their own dormitories and classrooms, and in their daily activities and studies suggest from all outward appearance the daily living of normal students in a private school. In many instances, the activities, the games, and the studies are those of normal children. The rhythm of life is slower because the mentally deficient child lives basically in a world of slow motions, responses, and perceptions. But often he is capable of performing as ably as the normal child. Unless the student is given tasks beyond his mental comprehension and ability, he is capable of doing worthwhile and constructive work both within the school and in the community. The instruction and living of the students here is based upon their mental, not their chronological age, so that the child attains a satisfaction from association with other children who understand as he does and whose responses and perceptions are like his own. He is relieved of that frustration the mentally deficient children so often experience when they are forced to associate with normal children or with those whose mental abilities are greater than their own. There are dormitories and nurseries within the school for children of lower mental ability, but always the child is grouped among his mental equals. Here in the younger boys' dormitory, the daily activity is somewhat slower because the response and comprehension are. Here can be, as in all normal boys, the wonder and the curiosity of children. The strange ticking of a wristwatch. The wonder. The wistfulness. Yet here also are the lonely ones. For often the children are forgotten by their parents, and the world the child is left to enter school is sometimes long remembered. But these are only moments. On a still lower level, the nursery, children for whom instruction consists primarily of constant care. But even on this level, among these children, one finds everywhere the laughter, the interest of normal nursery children. But unlike normal children, these are limited to a slowly retracting world of early childhood. The world seen only through the posts of these beds, perceived only through the love and understanding shown them. Even on the infant level, constant care and attention are afforded from birth on. Custodial cases. The layman's conception of the mentally deficient is that of a custodial patient, but these account for only 10% of the 1,200 children in school. Trained psychologists help determine the mental ability of the students through a series of tests and examinations. Such tests not only enable the school to determine the type of instruction and guidance necessary for the student, they also aid in determining whether or not the student is capable of performing tasks and duties outside of the school. For with the proper instruction and help, many students are capable of going back into society to live and work as other children. And it is this purpose for which the better schools are designed. For a state school whose teachers and staff members spend most of their time in custodial work ceases to be a school, but only an institution designed to relieve various homes and communities of the so-called problem of having mentally deficient children. On the higher level of comprehension and ability, students live a life that in most of its aspects resembles the daily living of any other American boy. There is the gymnasium, an American institution in itself. In physical training and organized games, the students display a coordination and athletic prowess that many normal children do not possess. The boys' rhythm band for the middle grade child, therapeutic as well as educational. Although many of these boys will not be able to leave the school without daily guidance, they enjoy here a program of training and recreation that makes their life as satisfying and creative as possible. Like the boys, the girls have their own orchestra. For persons acquainted, it is not at all surprising to learn that many mentally retarded or deficient children possess unusual musical ability. Others often have a similar talent in the field of painting and design. In many instances, it is just a problem of making possible the opportunity for the child to grow and develop. For the more capable children, there is an extensive program of academic, industrial, and farm training. There is daily classroom instruction. Students are taught the technique of weaving and sewing. And through such constructive training, their ability and talents are utilized and developed. Similar instruction on the higher levels is given to the boys. Here they are taught constructive skills that help create the feeling of accomplishment, the personal security of achievement. Removed from association with normal children, they are free from the abnormal competition of normal living. Among themselves, and with adequate and well-trained teachers and physicians to guide them, they adapt themselves easily to an environment in which they themselves can become the frame of reference. Their accomplishments and performances measured within that frame of references. And this is true even on the kindergarten level. The frame of reference for these young children is the children themselves. Again, on the higher level, the students work in fields of activity best suited to their mobility and comprehension. Here, students clear land for later cultivation. Trained supervision is important, for if too much is demanded, little will be accomplished in production and much damage will be inflicted upon the children. In addition to logging, farming offers an excellent opportunity of the utilization of the ability of mentally retarded and deficient children. The rhythm of labor is slower, and the tasks of production are simple enough for the boy to comprehend, and in comprehending, he knows the further joy of accomplishment. For too long now, the mentally retarded and deficient child has been placed in a world apart, the subject of ridicule or at the best innocuous sympathy. Once they are recognized for what they are and what they can do, and not derided for what they are not and what they cannot do, they are capable of making a worthwhile contribution to their communities and to their country. Like all children, they enjoy birthday parties, and their insatiable desire for cake and ice cream is no different from that of a normal child. And a rodeo offers as much enjoyment and excitement to them as it would to any child. Like other children, they also look forward to their favorite television programs, whether they be cowboys or puppets. At the Lakeland Village School in eastern Washington, as the students enjoy their summer camp activities, it would be difficult for the observer to notice any appreciable difference between these mentally deficient children and normal children. Occasionally their bodies are weak or twisted. More often they're strong and supple. The basic difference lies in their inability to mature intellectually. In most other respects, the differences are of a degree, for they are capable of sensitive feelings, strong attachments, and deep love. Their inability to control, repress, and inhibit their feelings sets them apart from normal children and makes it difficult for them sometimes to comprehend the world of which they are a part. It is true that these children are slow to understand, but it is also true that society has been slower in understanding them. Prejudiced and unsympathetic communities have inflicted undescribable hardship upon the parents of mentally deficient children, and worse, they have treated sensitive children as if they were incapable of any comprehension, feeling, or understanding. These children are the sons of learned professors as well as illiterates, the children of bankers and laborers. They are the outgrowth of poor stock and superior stock. They may even be your children, for the mentally deficient child can be born into any family. No one is immune. When tolerance replaces intolerance, understanding replaces prejudice, when knowledge replaces ignorance, and when moving love replaces passive sympathy, only then will these children be able to live with their parents at home and enjoy the advantages that their community offers other children. But even then, there will remain thousands of children for whom home care is an impossibility. For these, the community must demand school care on the state and national level. But the state schools should provide more than stark custodial care. The in-training program at the Rainier State School must be an important part of any program. The state schools actually should be a laboratory devoted to the study of the causes, treatment, and prevention of mental deficiency. Only within recent years has there developed an open discussion of mental deficiency. Slowly the taboos and superstitions surrounding this condition are being attacked and destroyed on both the state and national levels. The progress effected during this past decade exceeds that of the preceding 1,000 years, but the work has only begun. Publication of articles on mental deficiency by such leading writers as Edith Stern and Pearl Buck have helped to bring about an understanding and sympathy for these unfortunate children. But more understanding is needed. Far too many states offer no facilities for mentally deficient children. Others provide, at the most, only custodial care. Admission to school is often through political influence, not through need. And even the best schools are overcrowded and unable to accept emergency cases. Frequently, state legislatures try to solve the problem by ignoring its existence. In a final analysis, the initiative must come from enlightened citizens through group and community action. The Children's Benevolent League in Washington is composed of more than 5,000 parents and professional members. It is but one of many such groups throughout the nation operating on the community and state levels to effect understanding among citizens and raise the standards of instruction and care of mentally deficient children. This annual bazaar to raise money for the care of mentally deficient children is but one of their many community activities. They recognized as early as 1936, when the League was incorporated, what all citizens must recognize, that this mother's problem is actually your problem, because you are involved in mankind. To take this young girl off the human scrap heap requires your understanding and help. The world you help create for her will broaden her own limited world of childhood. Children limited should not be children forgotten.